Hi everyone, and welcome to a demo of Deskpro. So Deskpro is a help desk software company that allows you to stay communicated to your customers or users through various channels, allowing hopefully your team to have the best customer service that you possibly can. So in terms of channels that we support and how we are able to help your team, we can continue to help you have email to ticket support. So any email that you guys receive would be automatically generated into a ticket, and then it will be distributed to a member of your team. We also have a full help center portal available with contact forms and a messenger widget for live chat. And then we also support phone call integrations through our Deskpro voice functionality, as well as social media ticketing as well through WhatsApp, Twitter, and Facebook. So all of those things together allow you to have a multi-channel help desk, pulling all of that information into one platform, giving your agents the full ability to support customers across all of those channels as quickly, as efficiently as possible. Today, I'm going to spend some time covering Help Center, how users can support themselves 24/7 through a place like a knowledge base, which you can see on the screen now. I'm then going to jump into how users can submit tickets via a form or via a live chat widget. And then I'm going to jump across to the agent side and show how firstly, those tickets get to specific agents, talking a little bit about automation, and then just going through the process of actually managing tickets as an agent and some of the great tools that we've got in there as well, in terms of additional functionality like our snippets, our macros, and some of our follow-ups features there as well. I will lightly touch on reports at the end, but that's going to be everything that I'm going to cover today. So I'm jumping straight into Help Center. So Deskpro has a functionality called Help Center, and it is a web-based portal that you have access to that allows you to show information to your customers or users 24/7. And the whole idea of Help Center is that it will allow your users to find their own answers to their questions based on information you've previously provided, and then also allow them quick and easy ways to get in contact with you, whether you're online or offline, to support them, and then also just giving them a space to manage their own profile and manage their own tickets that they've previously submitted with you as well. So Help Center is a website that you can run on a custom domain or on your own Deskpro domain, and it can be completely customized with HTML and CSS, as well as more minor logo, color scheme changes built into our editor as well. You also get something called multi-brand included, so you can have different versions of this web portal. So if you've got multiple brands for your company and they all feel back to the same support teams, or if you've got multiple departments of a business that would all like to have their own different look and feel. So if you were to have a customer support team and an IT team using the same system, you might want to have a completely different user-facing portal because they're for different groups of people. But either way, they will both start to look like this, obviously with their customizations then coming into it. So the first big thing is, how can somebody help themselves? So first things first, we can obviously search for the information that we're looking for. I can pop keywords in here and it's going to pop up information that will help me solve my question. So I can see there's some knowledge base articles and some guides. So what are these different sections? So you can see there's 5 different areas that you can choose from to help users help themselves. Each of these sections act independently, so if you weren't interested in having a community forum on your page, you could switch that off, but they're all included in all of our plans, so adding them back on is just something you can manage in your own admin area. By far, the most important and probably positive area is the knowledge base. It's the most well used by all of our customers. The entire point of the knowledge base is that it acts as your kind of FAQ space for how-to questions and quick questions and answers as well. Within here, you can add different categories, and all categories can be associated with user group permissions. So depending on who logs into the Help Center, they may be able to see different categories. So whether that's employees logging in and people at different locations or different levels of seniority may be able to see different things, or if it's customers logging in, maybe there's information you can see if you log in at any time during the process, and then if you become a VIP customer or you buy a better package, there might be more information shown again. But the idea is that all of this information is available based on that user that logs in. And then if I just pop open an article, the articles themselves are made using a what you see is what you get editor, really simple to manage. You can embed images, videos, tables, and that's all just managed from our published settings within the agent interface as well. We then also have the option for users to rate the quality of the information and also add comments, trying to just add to that feedback loop, ensuring that information that the user is providing can be seen in our reports interface and then can go on to produce better quality content that's more useful at solving your users' problems. Knowledge base isn't the only area that we support. We've got a few more areas that are also very, very popular and useful as well. So you firstly got guides. Guides are there for essentially slightly different structured content than a knowledge base. So it's all still there to provide self-help information, but instead of it being category within individual articles that might be about different things within, the idea is that the guide has a flow. So much like a manual or a handbook, you're able to go through one page, scroll to the bottom of the page and press next page. So you're reading it much more like a manual or a process. And the idea is that the pages are likely to be followed in sequence. So it just allows you to keep that structure without somebody having to jump back and then go into the next article. It just allows that flow that you're not going to get in the knowledge base. It does also have its own search. So it has its own little table of contents search, as well as obviously the table of contents on the left-hand side. Jumping back to the homepage, we've then got a couple more areas. The next most popular is definitely news. News is our time-based content. So whether it's about changes to the product that you provide, changes to the service you provide, or anything else, news is there to allow you to provide time-based updates. It's very common that our customers have their users subscribe to news. And when a user subscribes to news, they're going to get an email notifying them of the update or the new news post, and they'll be able to check it out and see that change. The next two areas are a little bit different. The first is the community forum. Exactly as you may expect, it's a space where users in this case can put suggestions and new ideas. And within each new idea, people can upvote it and then also add their comments as well. So in this case, I'd like to add the date of delivery and purchase orders, or being able to add this if you would like to. Yes, that would be a great addition. And I can add that as a comment to this thread, and I can put my note. In this case, I've got a capture just on here as an extra level of protection, just to make sure that we're only approving people that we can verify as well into the system. In this case, I am already logged in, so a capture might not be necessary. I am logged into the system just using Deskpro authentication, but we do also provide single sign-on options. So things like allowing people to log in with Google, SAML, LDAP, all of your standard options are available as well. The final area just to touch on is just files. And files is a space where you can add anything that you'd like somebody to be able to download. So whether that's a form they need to download and print because they need to manually sign it, or in this case, a collection of videos, whatever it might be, you can add them in here, and then you've got an audit trail of people are logged in on exactly what they've downloaded and when. You do also have some customization settings around the homepage just built into our management of Help Center as well. So once somebody's looked through the content, they've had a search, they might still not be able to find the answer to their problem. And then they've got different ways that they can get in touch. The first is just the contact form. The contact form is just a very customizable dynamic form admins can build and then show to the end users to gather as much information as possible. And the idea of the form compared to email is that you can ask questions that you'll need to know the answer to in order to move that request forward. So instead of getting an email through that just says, I need help, someone's able to say, okay, well, I need help. Let's go through it on this form, actually. So I need help with customer support. Very specifically, I want to get in touch about updating my existing account, and this is my account number. And then I can just put a record in, which is change of address needed. And I can add, you can see here, it's just giving me a couple of options from the knowledge base. In this case, I've already looked at those articles. They don't solve my problem. So I can just go through the floor and say, I need to update my address. How do I do so? And I can submit that ticket to the form. So in general, it's already got so much more information. So instead of somebody coming back and saying, okay, what's your account number? What could we help with? We've got their account number. We can pull it up and we can just go back and say, this is your current address. What would you like to update it to? And then within one response from the end user, we should hopefully be able to solve their problem much quicker. From the user's perspective, I've got this little pop-up here letting me know that the request has been sent, and I've got a reference number that I can refer back to. I would have also received an email. So email is still a very big part of Deskpro if you'd like it to be. Just letting me know the ticket's being created. Again, just reiterating that number there as well. Users can also reply back to those update emails. That's where their replies from agents will go. So it very much keeps them completely in the loop. The final place just to point out is then just the My Tickets area. So alongside everything we've obviously spoken through today, people being able to submit their tickets, find information, the final thing they can do on here to help with their journey is to see all of their previous currently open tickets and any outstanding tickets as well. So you can see in this example, I've got 3 resolved tickets, 2 tickets that are currently with the support team, and then 3 tickets that are with myself, including a couple of tickets that are already open. And in this case, I can put one of these open. I can see the flow, so I can see the message I sent and then the message sent from the agent that's working with me. And I can always pop into here and just add a message, in this case, just thanks. And I can update my ticket from here. As the end user, you can see I can also close the ticket, so I can also add my own messages into the system, or I can also resolve my issues whenever I'm happy. In this case, I can rate the quality of my support as poor, okay, and it was great. And I could just say great service. And I can send that ticket on its way. The final thing the end user can do, and this is something not just limited to Help Center, it can be embedded into a website or into any other web page as well, is then the Messenger widget down the bottom right-hand corner. So Messenger is essentially there for live chat, but does have 2 additional benefits. The first is the knowledge-based search, allowing you to, again, just search the knowledge base for help, especially if live chat maybe is switched off at that point in time. And then they also have access to that same customer ticket form that we've looked at previously. But in this case, I'm just going to quickly show how our live chat works. So live chat with us is agent-led, which means an agent needs to be online to access it. In this case, I am, so I can just press this button. We can ask a quick couple of questions before the chat gets started, and we can use those to decide which queue we route the live chat to, and therefore which agent answers it on the other side. In this case, I'll just go with support, and this will pop straight open. From the agent perspective, they're instantly going to see this chat request, and they're able to accept that request, and instantly it will open a chat that they can work on. So chats in Deskpro are tickets. So it's instantly opened a ticket with myself, Agatha, and myself, Hannah, as the end agent, and I can start typing a response. So I can say, hi, Agatha, how can we help? And then I can pop onto the user side and just see this popping up in here. Essentially, this back and forth can continue. Both agents and users can embed, can send attachments, but you can also send inline images, so screenshots, anything like that into the message as well. From the end user perspective, you can start typing. So I could say, I need to change my address. And just before I send it, I'm going to pop back across to the agent side. And you can see that the agent can always see what the user is typing, just meaning that they can work quickly. Often users will spend quite a long time curating a message in a live chat, which will essentially have everything the agent needs to know in order to get started. So it just allows the agent to start working through that ticket, maybe looking at a ticket that might be associated with it, finding out a bit more about the profile of the user in order to give the best, quickest answer that they possibly can. I can then pop back over to the user side and just send my message there. And essentially, this back and forth can continue. From the agent's perspective, you do have some kind of chat controls built in. You've got the ability to assign to another online agent, bring in another online agent, and then keep in the live chat yourself. Block the user if you do put this publicly and you have any problems with abuse or spam. You can block the user and the IP address for up to 7 days. You can then leave the chat. This is obviously mostly used if you've added in a colleague and you're using it as a warm transfer, and then the ability to obviously end the chat as well. In this case, if I end the chat now, from the end user's perspective, just to finish off their journey, it will pop open and let them know it's been ended. They can ask for an email transcript if they would like one, and they can also rate the quality of their conversation with their agent as well. So that finishes up the tour of the Help Center and those features here. Just to jump back into the live chat that we've now got that's been closed. So because a live chat is a ticket, we now have a full ticket available to us. So if we were happy that we've been able to solve Agatha's request, we can just come up to the top right-hand corner of this ticket and instantly mark it as resolved. But if we weren't and we'd like to escalate this, we could then pass this ticket through the normal ticketing process. We could assign it across to a colleague. We could add internal notes, a lot more functionality that I'm going to come on to as well. But essentially that chat is a fully working ticket to allow you to move forward and continue to support that user. For now, I will just resolve this request, and so we can focus slightly more on other types of tickets in the system. So This is the agent interface, and we're just going to talk through some of the different functionalities you've got available. So left-hand side, you've got queues. Queues are essentially your folders. They're a bit like Outlook folders, and they are little pockets of tickets that you need to action that need to be worked through. The first thing that we do is split this from my inbox and inbox. My inbox being things directly relating to me, the agent that's logged in. So tickets assigned to me, tickets I'm following, tickets in my team. And then inbox is whole help desk or whole help desk that I have permissions to see. So it might just be my bigger department. It might be the whole help desk, just depending on permissions that my admins have set up for me. All of the queues in Deskpro, you get some put in by default, but they can all be managed by admins down the bottom. You've got your ability to turn out any of ours off, add more, customize your permissions on any of them, and just make any of those changes with that manage queues button down the bottom. But essentially, with no automation in Deskpro and no rules, every single email, ticket from a form would just run straight into the unassigned tickets queue, just as these tickets have here. But you can put automations in place to automatically decide where tickets go. So if you have, say, HR and IT sharing a help desk, you might have an IT department and an HR department. The first thing that you might do is just when a ticket comes into IT, whether that's based on an email address or a form, instantly route that straight to the IT team or instantly route that straight to the HR team. So that's a very kind of simple level that you can do. We do have a couple of more options involved in the automation process. So within triggers that live under our business rules, you can put more things in place. The first is to use something like a round robin. So in this case, we have a trigger that just says if the department is set as customer support, instantly start the customer support round robin on that ticket. And that would just mean that, say, if we have 10 customer support agents, the first ticket will go to number 1, second ticket will go to number 2, and so on and so forth around the route. It just means that there's no cherry picking and no one's being assigned more work than another person. The nice thing with our round robin is it will pause if an agent is away, meaning that it will just jump them until they're back online in the system as well. So it's not going to pile up work while someone's off sick or on holiday. We can also run triggers on keywords inside emails or on any of the custom fields that somebody selects within that form as well. So for instance, if somebody selects a ticket to IT and then within that they choose that it's a software request, we can instantly route that not only to the IT team, but either to the agent responsible for software or to a kind of smaller software team within the IT department as well. The same way that, say, if a ticket comes into customer support and the keywords used within the body or within the invoice are billing, PO, any of those kind of invoice, any keyword that would tie to finance, we could automatically route that to the finances, accounts payable team within the system as well, ensuring that it's not being held up by support or sales and it's being escalated automatically across to the right team. And that is what those triggers are doing in the background. Essentially, that means that you get to a space where agents can really be focusing on things like their My Teams tickets, where they might put a bit of a divider on like I've just done here to show me what tickets I've currently got, what have my colleagues got, but what's also unassigned in my team. And then eventually they'll be just focusing their time on their My Tickets queue. And then My Tickets queue is everything in the help desk that's in a waiting agent status that needs to be actioned by a member of the team. And the idea being here that we are taking away things that are in a waiting user status or that's been resolved or on pending, where our awaiting agent status is work that needs to be actioned. So it's either brand new tickets, tickets that you're choosing to keep in a waiting agent because you need to run an action on them, or tickets that the end users reply back to you and you need to action something. From the specific view, agents can choose how they sort their queues, how they group their queues, and what columns they view in here, including any custom fields that they have as well. And then I'm able to just pop open a ticket and start working on it. So if we just jump back to our unassigned queue and we can look at this ticket that Agatha submitted earlier, the first thing I can do is assign it to myself. And if I'm going to do that, I'm just going to press the Me button above here and it'll pop my little avatar in here and it will show me when I hover over it that it's been assigned to myself. I can also drop down and from this drop down select who I actually want to work on it. I can escalate it over to somebody else and get them to work on it from this drop down as well. I've then got my custom fields and core ticket information below here as well. So in this list, I've got core information. So the reference number of the ticket, the brand, the department, and then any custom fields. So we can see that these are the custom fields that the end user submitted when they sent in the ticket to us, but we could have more here. So very commonly our customers might have a custom field for reason for resolution, and that's something that they want to gather every time. You might have steps in your workflow that require agents to fill information in. That all just goes in custom fields that only agents would see on this ticket. The other clear thing that's in this side is the name of the user that submitted the ticket. So we were Agatha when we were on the other side. And what you can probably notice very quickly is on the right-hand side of the ticket, you've got Agatha's profile. And we always have the CRM profile of the user open when you're in the ticket. It limits any extra clicks there and allows you to quickly understand who is the user that you're speaking to. Are they a common customer of you? Do they get in touch a lot? And what can we see about them? So in this case, we've got Agatha's core contact details. We can choose to be part of an organization. We can actually jump from here and look at the organization profile, see a bit of information about the whole organization, and then jump back to the user as well. And then below that, we've got the space for any user custom fields. So we can see the user group she's a part of for her permissions. She's a solar trial member and she's only got access to one brand, which is our energy brand in this case. And then there's 12 custom fields we actually haven't filled in on her profile that I could add in as well. All very custom and all details that you guys can customize to match whatever you'd like to store about your users. And then probably the most useful part of the profile is previous ticket history. So the big thing that we're trying to do here is we're trying to make sure that if a user's already submitted a ticket about the same thing, we're quickly aware of that and we haven't got two agents working on the same problem separately, or if somebody's already been in touch about something and they've had a particular resolution, we can ensure they're getting the same resolution again if necessary. So in this case, we can see my ticket down the bottom, 140 change of address needed. We can actually see that she's had a ticket in before called change of address on account. So I do have the ability to come into here, hover through this and look at the status of this ticket and what happened on it. In this case, it hasn't actually been resolved yet. So I might actually just choose to merge this into the existing request. And if I were to do that, I'd just press up here and I'd use the merge button. I'd then find that ticket from this list and I'd be able to merge them together and it would give me some options about what data to keep. And that very quickly limits the amount of work that those two separate agents would have to do moving forward. But just to jump back into the body and actually replying to this ticket. So messages from users and agents will show in the middle big section of the ticket, but down the bottom we've got an anchored reply box, so I can add my response into this box down the bottom. In order to do that response a bit quicker, especially for frequently asked questions, we do have a tool called snippets. Snippets are our canned responses. You can build up folders of snippets for different things. You can pop inside these and you can have a look at what they're all about. So we've got a nice little couple of examples of snippets in here. I can also go back and apply any of these from just by clicking on them as well. Snippets can be added in just with a click of a button like so. And as you can see, it's automatically added Agatha's name as a variable in there. And I can just send this across as a response. In this case, I'm going to keep it an awaiting agent because I'm sending a bit of a holding response and I will actually get back to her properly at a later date with a little bit more information. Also in the reply box, I've then got my notes area. So this is our internal notes. So anything added into notes, as you can see, it's in a different color, is any information that the user won't be able to see, but any agent that has access to the ticket can see. It also utilizes our agent instant messaging function as well. So you can @mention somebody. So I could say at Matt Ray, can you find this customer's address? I can't see it in my system. And I could just say, I can in this case just copy across the account number and say account number this, and I can add this as a note to this ticket. If I was Matt and I was sat at my desk, or if I'm away from my desk, I would get a notification letting him know that a conversation has been started between him and myself, and he's got this note. And from here, he's got one click to open up the ticket and see it, but this is a live chat system as well. So he has the ability to drop me a message in here, reply back to me, send me the address, and then I can update the ticket and just generally chat freely about the message or about anything else as well. The nice thing about Conversations and Agent IM is that you've got everybody you've previously chatted with, all of the agents in the system, and then also the ability to send a broadcast to every agent in the account, message a particular team or a group as well. So it doesn't have to just be used with the @mentions, it is its own little feature as well, but it's very nicely placed within the @mentions of notes as well. Just finally down the bottom, we do have quite a few other actions here that just link out to other things that we offer. So because Agatha's profile has a phone number attached to it, we do also have the option to call her, send her an SMS, and then if I had an active WhatsApp conversation open with her, I could reply via WhatsApp as well. The final other tool you do just have is the ability to forward a message out. So for example, if I actually needed to speak to a third party or a member of the team that didn't work in the Deskpro interface about gathering Agatha's address, I would have the ability to search for that person in our CRM and then forward the ticket out. And when you do forwarding, you do have the option to forward that new ticket as a child ticket to this ticket. So you've got one click to be kept up to date between those two interfaces as well. The final very frequent thing that you guys probably have to do that might currently be a bit of a different process is obviously the way that you escalate tickets and move tickets around the system. So with an email, you would just forward that chain on. In other systems, you could just move it to another team and unassign yourself. You can definitely do both of those options in Deskpro. We've obviously just looked at the forwarding tool. You do very simply have the ability to unassign yourself and assign a ticket to a new team to move it through its process. You might choose to do something like add yourself as a follower so you can watch the ticket but not be the primary agent. But in general, you also might want to do that process and manage that process on behalf of your agents in a slightly better way. And that's why macros come in. So macros are a way to build kind of a one-stop shop of actions. So where you have set processes and processes you'd like all agents to do in the same way, instead of worrying about how those processes are being handled and if there's multiple steps of agents doing them, you can build macros for your agents, put them into folders like I've done here, and then use the macros as a base for all those processes. So just as an example, I have an escalation in here called escalate complaints. So in this case, it's going to reassign the team to complaints, reassign the department to complaints, and increase the urgency. So that's 3 steps an agent would have to do on their own. They could forget one, they could misclick one. And the whole idea is that by having them in a set action, an agent can come in and they can either just run this macro or they can queue it. And if they run it, it will happen straight away. If they queue it, it will pop down into the reply box like this. And then when I send my next reply, the actions will run at the same time. If I change my mind, I don't actually need to assign this ticket to complaints. I just press here and it's no longer going to run as part of that ticket. So that's just a really nice process to keep the ticket moving as well. So that is an overview of a lot of the standard processes. So we've looked at assigning tickets, replying to tickets, how we can navigate around the ticket. There's then a bunch of functionality that I will touch on at quite a high level, just in the ticket actions area. So I've already mentioned merging. Another really common tool in here is just splitting. So often a customer might send in one ticket, they might ask 3 or 4 questions, and they could all be for different people. And the whole idea is that instead of having to then wait until one person has solved the first question to then escalate the ticket across, we can just come into here, we can select which message we'd like to pull out. So I might choose to pull this message out. I can add a new subject and then I can assign that ticket off to wherever it needs to go. It also allows us to track different types of requests as separate tickets. It can help reporting and everything else along those lines as well in terms of your metrics for those tickets. We've then just got our basic actions, so deleting tickets, moving them to spam, locking them, printing them. But then there's some fun stuff on the left-hand side. And these are all things that you can add to tickets to increase their essentially their power and different actions that should make agents' lives easier, but in general also just optimize the flows. So some of those are much more widely used and much simpler to action as an agent than others. So the first really simple one to use that is very popular is follow-ups, and follow-ups are actions that you can preset to run and then they'll run without you. So for example, if a customer says, I'll get back to you with that update on Monday, and then you reply and say, no problem at all, get back to me then, that ticket's going to go into a waiting user status. So when Monday comes around, you'd have to go looking for it, or until Monday, you'd have to keep it in your queue and it would be in the way of things that do need to be worked on at that moment in time. So instead of having to worry about that, we can utilize a new follow-up to say, well, send it off to a waiting user, but on Monday, at a time that I can specify, let's say 1 p.m. for ease, I can run an action. And in this case, I'm going to send a reply to the customer and just say, hey, I noticed that we still haven't heard back from you with the next steps. Do you have an update? No worries. If not, just wanted to chase on this one a little bit, whatever you want to say. And then you can also tick the box down the bottom, which just says cancel if the user replies. So if the user does get back to you between now and then, it would just discard this message. It would never be sent and you could move on to your next step. But if they don't get back, that message is sent, the ticket stays in a waiting user status, and you haven't had to re-engage with that ticket at all. It's all happened behind the scenes without you having to worry about it. So that's the first really very popular feature. There's obviously quite a few in here. I will talk through some of them in a little bit more depth than others. Again, billing, a very quick function to talk about. You may have been seeing the whole time in the demo, I've got this charge time counting up. So our billing function is something I have set on auto bill, which just means as soon as I open a ticket, and then every single time I send a message, it counts how long it was open for until I sent that message and then adds that charge to the ticket. So in the time that I've been in here, it did a 3-minute 32-second charge, and then a 49-second charge as well. And obviously currently it is counting up to 6 minutes 27 seconds. I could choose to reset that clock because this time doesn't count. I could add that charge now as a manual request, or I can actually come in and add specific time. So for example, I could say I'm going to spend 2 hours on this, and that's an on-site visit, and I can add that in. And it's just then time that can be accumulated over the ticket or accumulated on that user profile. You can see there's actually been 15 charges in total across a number of different tickets with Agatha, and I can see the total of all of that in her ticket. It all fills into our reporting interface to be managed from there as well. A couple of other really useful things. We've got a couple of linking options. So the ability, I know I touched on it with forwarding, but the ability to have parent-child relationships between tickets. You can also link tickets to community topics. And then leading on for that, you can also turn a ticket into an article very easily from a ticket into a knowledge base article. Just trying to, again, close that loop of if somebody asks a question and you think, oh, that would be relevant to somebody else, it will just pop it across into a pending article. It will add a couple of bits from the ticket in, and then it means with a couple of edits, it's there ready to be published to help the next person that asked that question. Just trying to make that knowledge base as 24/7 as helpful as possible, so that you do hopefully get less tickets into the help desk, and the tickets you are getting in involve far more agent kind of administration, and you're not having to work on kind of the low-hanging fruit tickets just as much. Alongside that, you've then got things like our problems and incidents tool. So you've got the ability to create problems. So the first time you get a ticket in about maybe a website problem or server being down, you can add that first ticket and you can create the problem. And then from that point on, you'll have a list of open problems where you can assign tickets to them. There is then just a little problems view in here that I would allow you to view all of those tickets associated with that problem. And we do then have a mass actions function. So you can mass select tickets. And this is not just within problems, it can be used throughout Deskpro. And then run an action, but such as an updated mass reply to everybody, a mass assignment to a particular person that's going to work on those tickets, or as you can see, there's lots of other options in this list to be managed there through mass actions as well. And then just the last couple of points in here that are really useful. One that's incredibly useful is tasks. So tasks are the ability to break a ticket down into smaller jobs, a bit like a checklist. So for instance, it's very popular with onboarding requests in both HR and IT, or even when you onboard a new customer to a product as well. So there might be 5 things that always have to happen to onboard somebody, and you can either add those manually, like I could do here. I could say like, go to AD and change address records, and I could choose a date. Well, that just has to get done by tomorrow, and I can add that in. I'm going to manage that, so nothing I need to change there, and that's been saved into that ticket. But they also link back to triggers as well. So for example, if an onboarding request does come in, we can automatically add 5 tasks to those tickets. We can delegate them to the right people, and we can set relative due dates based on when the ticket was created. So you might need to make sure they're added in Active Directory on the same day, but then you could wait 5 days before you send them their hardware. Anything like that could be set up, and they'll then automatically run. And although that they're delegated out to different people, they're going to get notified about their individual task. You've still got the management of the whole ticket being under one agent, who his job it is to ensure that all of those tasks are complete as well. And then finally in here, you've just got the ability to manage approvals as well. So approvals, much like tasks, are something that can be automated through triggers. So you might have a new hire process or a purchase request that as soon as the form's filled in a certain way, it just automatically starts that approval. But they can be agent-led as well. So in this case, I could come in and say I've got a hardware approval. There's 2 people in this account that have the ability to approve hardware, Mr. Boss and Lily Scott. Both Mr. Boss and Lily Scott are actually end users, so they would be directed to the help center to manage their approvals from there, which is its own separate section, and they'd all be communicated with through email. And then essentially I can add that request to the ticket, and then the actions of the approvals have their own trigger actions as well. So for example, as soon as a request is accepted, automatically update the user and resolve the ticket. If the request is rejected, send them a different email, obviously apologizing, and then resolve the ticket. And that can all be completely automated based on responses that the approvers provide. The last thing just to quickly mention is that we are integrating with other systems as well. So you may be able to see throughout the system, there's a couple of little logos of other products. So you've got the ability to integrate with things like our MailChimp app on a user profile level. And then we've also got integrations with other tools to allow you to manage bug processes and project management from Deskpro directly as well. So that is a big rundown there on all of the different functionality available within a Deskpro ticket, and hopefully gives you a really good insight and understanding into how to use Deskpro better and some of the great functionality on offer to hopefully speed up your agents and guarantee best practices across escalations, resolutions, and other processes. There's a couple of automations that link into those processes. We've obviously already touched on triggers. The last thing just to quickly touch on then is SLAs and then escalations. So there's only so much agents can do where they might have lots of tickets and they really need to know how to prioritize their work. And some of these automations are there to help with that process as well. So the first is SLAs. Lots of our customers obviously have business SLAs and they need Deskpro to be able to help them maintain and manage those SLAs. So in this case, I've got 2 service level agreements I'd like my agents to be able to meet. The first is a 60-minute first response SLA. So in this case, it's a time until first response SLA and not a time until resolution SLA. It's just running on our Helpdesk default hours, but you do have the ability to run these on custom hours for teams in different time zones or very special service level agreements that might run on different time. And then also 24/7 time as well. All SLAs can be paused during pending statuses so that a ticket being with a third party doesn't account for your SLAs. And then they also run on a traffic light system. So a ticket is passing its SLA until it moves it to its amber state, which we call warning. And warning has its own section of actions, and then it moves to red when it fails its SLA. And both of those times can be set. So in this case, it's a 60-minute SLA. So we've got a 30-minute warning point. And at both points, you can add actions. In this case, we're just increasing the urgency at both points. So with agents having their queues set on urgency are going to see those tickets climb up to the top that they need to action first. But you've got ability to add so many different actions in. So you might choose to reassign the ticket out to another person. You may choose to send a message to the customer, letting them know. You might choose to interface with the agent across another platform, letting them know that the ticket needs to still be actioned. There's a whole host of things to play around with to get the best result, that whatever helps your agents kind of manage that ticket better. And then the final option down the bottom is just then, when does this SLA apply? So in this case, it's a complaints SLA. So it's only going to apply to tickets that match the complaints department. But it means that you can have SLAs for certain types of users, people that have certain types of contracts. It can be based on ticket custom fields, user custom fields, or core data as well. And then you can have unlimited SLAs that all run in the system. Moving on from SLAs, along the same vein, once a ticket has gone through that SLA process, it's not going to keep running again. So that's where escalations come in. Escalations are your time-based automations to manage the movement of tickets and stopping tickets from becoming stagnant post that first response. So this works both ways. The overall aim of a help desk is to ensure that tickets are being resolved, and whether that's them being resolved because you haven't heard back, or them being resolved because you've heard back. The goal of escalations is to ensure that everything is resolved, everything's resolved and accounted for, and you know why it's being resolved in whatever way that might be. And that kind of lives on both sides. So there's escalations that will run because a ticket's been with an agent for too long, probably the most common. So for example, if a ticket's been sat with an agent for 3 days, reassign it to somebody else or send it to unassigned so it will get responded by somebody else. And that's great for situations where somebody might be off sick or someone might have too much work and they're not able to get through it. And it just means make sure nobody's holding too many tickets in their account that they're not able to get round to. The flip side to that then is something like a follow-up with customer after 7 days. So instead of it being around the agent's response time, it's actually around ensuring that the user is getting the response that they need by following up with them. So, but it not taking too much time out of your agent. So we looked at follow-ups directly in the ticket. That was very case-by-case specific. So it'll be following up with specific information because they've said, get back to me in 2 weeks, or they've said this or that. And that's specific to each case. But escalations are there for criteria-based decisions. So In this case, the agent's been waiting for 1 week. We're only applying this to customer support, but we could even make a smaller group than just a department level. And then in this case, we change the agent automatically back to agents. We add an agent note that just says escalation, customer hasn't replied, follow up or resolve the ticket. You could either do it like this, or you could just have an add agent reply that sends a reply out to the customer on the ticket that just says, hey, I haven't heard back from you in a week. Did my last response solve your problem, or are you still looking for further support on this? And obviously the hope is they come back and say, all sorted, you can resolve my issue. But either way, it's an engagement point to ensure that the ticket moves its way to resolution. And then you can have a further escalation that after another 7 days, we'll let them know that you're resolving their ticket. We can add a label to the ticket to say, we didn't hear back, so that when we look at our report statistics, we can see the difference between things that have had a resolution and things where we've marked them as resolved because we haven't heard back. Which perfectly moves me on to the reports interface. So the final thing we're going to look at today is just how do we show all of this data that we're now getting, all of these data points, into something that is useful to share with stakeholders, or just to genuinely start to see insights and trends in the information that we're able to gather. So all of Deskpro's reports are live and they're instant. So as soon as a ticket is created, that is then within the Deskpro statistics moving forward. And there's kind of two sides to Deskpro's reports interfaces. There's dashboards and then there's stats. So stats are the individual reports that you can run. We give you about 100 to 150 of these by default, covering the whole help desk, so things to do with people interacting with the knowledge base, tickets, SLAs, and essentially you can pull up something very quickly that looks a bit like this. So in this one, it just says number of tickets created anytime, grouped by department and nothing. But I can come into these drop downs and I could make changes. So I could drop this to in the past 30 days and the data is going to look very different. I could choose to group this by something different. So again, I could come in and I could group this by, let's just say, organization, and I'm quickly going to see very different data. The nice thing is all of your custom fields as well as other useful points will be included in this. So you're instantly able to gather this on your custom data. You're not limited to just preset data points as well. And then once you've got the data that you're interested in, you can download this as a CSV. So whether that's in a table format or as a nice graph, completely up to you guys. From here, you can then take those data and add them to dashboards. And this is where you can start to build views specific to particular departments or teams that really hopefully show useful data that you want to share. So you can create unlimited dashboards. Each dashboard can have multiple tabs. And inside each dashboard, you can just design them to have these different statistics in. So in this case, we've just got some SLA information, some agent information, some splitting by departments, looking at different tickets based on the labels, and then some information around response time and resolution times. Per dashboard, though, you can edit the agent access, so permissions can be set on view and edit requests for the dashboard itself. You then can also share information slightly more widely than just agents for shareable links. And shareable links are going to give you full protection. So they're read-only, there's no backlinks into the help desk, but it allows you to then share those reports with external stakeholders, end users. You do have the ability to limit based on whitelisting IP addresses as well, so you can really limit those down. And create a safe space in which to share data externally. And then finally, you do also have the ability to schedule reports as well. So once you've got a dashboard, you can pop your details in here and then email it to yourself daily, weekly, bi-monthly, and keep kind of a record of a point in time report of that data that you care about. And hopefully you'll start to be able to see differences and changes, hopefully seeing that data improve, seeing response times go down, and seeing the types of issues that you're getting changing as things like the knowledge base are fleshed out and people start to feel more comfortable with all of the different features that hopefully a tool like Deskpro could bring to your organization. I really hope this was a useful kind of show and tell around Deskpro today. We covered a lot in a short space of time, so please do get in touch with the team if you have any questions after taking a look at this video. Thank you very much, everyone.